What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bleav In Mavs. As always, I am your host, Mo Murphy, and this is a quick emergency episode for the simple fact it has been reported by Adrian Wojnarowski that the Dallas Mavericks are signing in a sign and trade Klay Thompson for 3 years, $50 million. So that is the breaking news. The Dallas Mavericks add a championship pedigree player coming off his alleged worst year of his career, saying that he's washed, averaging 18 points a game, 17.9 points a game if you want to get technical, shooting 39% from the three. Dallas's most glaring need in the NBA Finals against the Boston Celtics was shooting. Everybody wants to put some focus on defense, and I understand that, but like if you look at how good of an offensive team Boston was throughout the season and really throughout the playoffs, they weren't that great offensively for the Boston Celtics standard because Dallas Mavericks played really well defensively. But it was the fact that they weren't necessarily a threat hitting open shots. They shot like 27% on wide open threes, 31% on open threes as a team. That's not going to get it done. And so I know we love the youth. We want to see, we wanted to see everybody get built up, and this is going to be in a 3-team trade. So Josh Green is going to be going to the Charlotte Hornets. Everything's not finalized, could be finalized in the middle of recording this emergency episode real quick. Just wanted to get some content out to you, but there's a lot of factors of trying to get Klay Thompson. Now, he's now the oldest player on the Dallas Mavericks. We all understand that. You got to give up some youth, but Klay Thompson has played championship basketball. He got 4 championships. He knows what it takes to win a championship. And one of the biggest keys to me in the fact that the Dallas Mavericks were able to land Klay Thompson was it seemed like all the way down the final 2 teams were the Dallas Mavericks and the Los Angeles Lakers. And so I think it says a lot because it seems like what convinced Klay Thompson to come to Dallas was the best chance of winning. And then the enticing thing was the no state taxes in the state of Texas. But he valued winning. And so him coming to Dallas is kind of him saying, I think there's a better opportunity to win with my services in Dallas than it is with the Lakers. Obviously, everybody would say that. Obviously, everybody knows that because this is the team that just went to the NBA Finals. But even Klay could feel like if I played for the Lakers, I could be the difference in the Lakers getting to the championship, but he feels like the Dallas Mavericks. I would assume he feels like the Dallas Mavericks are more ready to win now, and he would rather play with Luka and Kyrie and not a first-year head coach and Jason Kidd, which I think that played a factor too. It's no disrespect to JJ Redick, but I don't think Klay Thompson wanted to leave Golden State for a first-year head coach. He clearly wasn't necessarily chasing the money. I'm sure there may have been a team or two, but Klay Thompson kind of made it known early before free agency that him parting with Golden State, the list of teams that he was interested in and he was going to meet in as soon as free agency started, told us everything we know. He does want to play winning basketball. Now, it might not be he's going to pick the best team in the West or the best team in the East, but he wants to play winning basketball. And he looked what Philly might be doing. He looked what the Clippers could be with him. He looked what the Lakers could be with him. And he looked what Dallas is. So overall, he picked to come to the Dallas Mavericks. So that's major in a lot of ways. That's a major win in getting Klay Thompson in itself. But then you look and here's my thing. We fall in love with all these guys, the PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford and Josh Green, who we're giving up in this sign and trade. But as much as we fall in love with these guys, you got to understand, man, you got to get better. When you win the championship, right? So the Boston Celtics, they're keeping Derek White an extension, Drew Holiday extension, Jaylen Brown had got signed, Jason Tatum about to get his extension. So they're just about to keep that group together. And that group probably feels like they're good enough to stay together. With the Dallas Mavericks, you went to the finals and lost, right? So essentially the first thing as a fan is every move that you make, you're going to value it man, how does that help us against Boston? That's what you're supposed to do when you reach the championship. Man, who stood in our way and how can we win this time next year? Other teams, though, are also, here's where you got to go get a Klay Thompson because other teams are also making moves because they're chasing you because you are now the top dog in the West. Ask Miami how it went when they decided to stand pat after going to the NBA Finals and playing against the Denver Nuggets and losing in 5. They didn't get any better. They ran it back with the same team. Now, I understand Jimmy Butler was injured, and this is the team that the Boston Celtics face, but running it back when you don't win the championship, you're missing something or else you would have won the championship. So you have to improve, but you have to also understand you are now the top dog. You arguably have the best player in the NBA. For argument's sake, you got one of the top 3 players in the NBA in Luka Doncic. You got one of the best scorers, one of the smoothest guys with the rock in his hand the game has ever seen in Kyrie Irving. You have a coach, Jason Kidd, who's gotten this team there, right? He's led this team to the NBA Finals. They've been to Western Conference Finals and the NBA Finals in 2 of the past 3 years. So, like, this team can win something, but when you don't win the championship, you got to improve and understand when you get there and you lose, you're the king of the conference and everybody's evaluating how they can beat you. And that's a move I think the Oklahoma City Thunder made by getting Isaiah Hartenstein. Like, they feel like, okay, if we would have went to the Western Conference Finals, what got in our way? The Dallas Mavericks, they killed us on the boards. Obviously, like, you know, Luka did his thing. The superstars are going to do what they do. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but that's how they beat them. They killed them on the glass. And so that was the most glaring need that OKC decided, and maybe they overpaid for Isaiah Hartenstein. Shout out to him. I'm glad he got his money, but like they're realizing like we got to get better. And if we want to beat a team like Dallas, who made it out the Western Conference, this is where we got to get our improvements. And so you see moves like that. You see how Minnesota, even in the draft, like they played aggressive in the draft and wanted Rob Dillingham and took Terrence Shannon Jr. Like they wanted some other playmakers, some other get younger at point guard. Mike Conley not going to be there forever. They wanted to get younger at point guard, change the pace of the game for their offense because Anthony Edwards is their future. So you see that, and that's how they feel like they can get back to the Western Conference Finals. Then you go out east, and obviously now Paul George is with the Philadelphia 76ers. Who cares about that? But like even the Knicks, I feel like they were just good enough. If they were healthy, they would have beat the Indiana Pacers and played the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals anyway. Health was just a factor of them not being there. So now the Boston Celtics made it out the East and won the championship. So you see a team like the Knicks, what moves can we make that matches up the best with Boston, because they should already feel like we were the second best team in the Eastern Conference, and had we played with our fully healthy roster last year, we would have been playing Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals anyway. So we're not necessarily preparing. We can't sleep on those other teams that you beat or feel like you're better than, but that's not, we're there. We're already better than y'all. We chasing the ones that's better than us right now. And that was the Boston Celtics, and the New York Knicks made that statement when they traded for Mikal Bridges and they kept OG Anunoby. Some people feel like they overpaid. It ain't my money. It's not my money. At the end of the day, I don't really care. And it's not your money. So whether you think they overpaid or not, like even if it's the team you love, it ain't my money. It ain't your money. So I don't get why we get so worked up. They'll have to figure that out. And I know as a fan, you know that could come down the line, but that doesn't matter. They kept OG. They got Mikal Bridges. They wanted to have some elite two-way wing players to match up against the Boston Celtics. They still have Julius Randle. So I know they lose Isaiah Hartenstein, but they're looking, that 5 that they could roll out could match with Boston. So when Dallas goes and gets aggressive to get a guy like Klay Thompson, it's because we're right there. We went to the NBA Finals, and one of our biggest needs was shooting. So what do? We grab one of the greatest shooters the NBA has ever seen in Klay Thompson. Unfortunately, you also lost Derrick Jones Jr. You kind of made the statement that you were going to lose Derrick Jones Jr. when you signed Najee Marshall. I think that's more of a lateral move than improvement or upgrade or downgrade. Maybe I think it might even be a slight upgrade. I know we love Derrick Jones Jr. He had those type of games. The Heat fan base used to be the same way with Derrick Jones Jr. He's one of those guys. He come in for a year or two, you love him. He's really a quality role player, but just in those biggest moments, he just doesn't always get it done. And I'm not saying that Najee Marshall does, but I think it's a lateral move on a little bit less money. Paying Najee Marshall like $7.8 million a year. Derrick Jones Jr. is getting 10. And now after getting Klay Thompson, maybe there was a way. I'm sure we could have kept Derrick Jones Jr. and acquired Klay Thompson, but that's not the route they took. And there's still a couple $1 million left over for another type of player. It's not going to be a major player. It'll be somebody that'll be maybe at the back of the bench to fill out that last roster spot. But you might even be walking in with a starting 5 of Luka, Kyrie, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, and Lively. Or you could walk in with Luka, Kyrie, Klay, Najee Marshall, and Lively. Or you could swap out Lively and Gafford. You could swipe out Washington and Marshall in a lot of different ways. So that's a nice, and then you look at it. What's the most important thing? I know we're going to, you want to see a lot of these guys develop, but your 8-man rotation at the end of the day, as long as injuries don't play a factor in the regular season, the Dallas Mavericks are going to the playoffs. So they'll go to the playoffs. Your 8-man rotation has to be one of the best 8-man rotations in the NBA. It doesn't matter what your 14th and 15th guy look like when you're chasing a championship. Your 8-man rotations is what play in the playoffs. And sometimes when those guys get in foul trouble, you go to 9 and 10. But we're not looking at 11, 12, 13, and 14 and what they could do for the team unless we're looking at it from only a regular season standpoint. But when we talk about trying to win a championship, who's playing. And so with that 8-man rotation, I think the Dallas Mavericks, they showed they could play with anybody in the West by making it out of the Western Conference Finals and going to the NBA Finals. I think now it gives them a better shot to play against Boston. Is it do these moves, does getting Klay Thompson make me say, oh, well, there's the fix in losing in 5, and now we beat them in 6 or beat them in 7? Not necessarily. I need to see what it looks like as well. But do I think it would have increased their chances and changed the way Boston would have had to play and some of the adjustments that they would have had to make? Would have opened up the floor for one-on-one with Kyrie and Luka? Because how much of a threat is it one-on-one? There was a lot of help side defense being able to be played by the Boston Celtics because there wasn't the big threat of anybody hitting a shot outside of Luka and Kyrie. Like there was no, Boston wasn't just going to let Luka cook up. They damn sure wasn't just going to let Kyrie cook up, but like there was no threat. So they were always there on the help side. You can't do that when you have an elite shooter like Klay. Even a guy, if he's off that game, shooters find it off of one shot. And so you'll always have to respect it. Klay's 3-point shot is always going to be respected. And so when he's moving around and you change the offense a little bit and run a little bit more with not so stagnant and depending on Kyrie and Luka to drive and dish and figure it out, a pick and roll with a Klay Thompson on the wing or a Klay Thompson in the corner, that changes where the help can come from. That makes it easier for Luka and Kyrie, especially in one-on-one situations, because there's not going to be a lot of help side, especially from those long wings like Tatum or Brown, to be able to step down and help and cut that off and make you have to pass out to a shooter that may not hit the shot anyway. Klay Thompson is one you're always going to have to respect it. It's always going to be a gamble. And even if he's 0 for 6, that 7th one might be the reason why he finishes 5 for 11 from the 3. Like it's that simple. He could hit the next 5. That's how deadly of a shooter Klay Thompson is. And that's how much of his shot has respect around the league. So I think this is a major pickup for the Dallas Mavericks. Shout out to the Dallas Mavericks for being able to land a big name. No, is Klay going to be the legendary Klay Thompson from his prime when the Warriors were winning 4 championships? Of course not. But he's not that far off from being still a very good impact player. Nobody's asking Klay Thompson to be the number 1 option and take them to a championship. They are talking about a very, very high quality with championship pedigree piece being added to a roster with one of the 3 best players in the league, one of the smoothest scorers in the league, and one of the better coaches in the league, in my opinion, in Jason Kidd. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I appreciate everybody for listening. We'll be coming at you later in the week, maybe coming at you again if the Mavs make another move. Who knows? But be well, be safe, and we will catch you on the next episode of Bleav In Mavs.